Hello and welcome to the SpiderNerd.com podcast. I am your host, SpiderNerd, and joining me today for the panel is Mr. Jacob Blowbaum.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. I just got home from a little comic book convention, actually.
Oh, what convention?
It was called the Iowa Comic Book Club Icon.
Never heard of it, but
Yeah, it's like this banquet room at this old arcade.
old arcades are really fun to go to.
Like closed down arcade that doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, I was like, arcades are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with me, basically, this has been a week of, I don't even know. For anyone who's wondering who listened to our last show, I referenced us as the Spider-Man Web Spinners podcast. Yeah, we are no longer the Spider-Man Web Spinners podcast. I've moved back to the SpiderNerd.com web address, so we are now once again the SpiderNerd.com podcast. For anyone who's listening to this and is like really kind of confused about that, we are the SpiderNerd.com podcast, but we are basically the same podcast, just under a different name. So we're going to be covering the same stuff: comics, news, media. Eventually, when we get someone on this show who actually watches the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. I do have a friend who does actually watch it, and I'm hoping to get him on the show eventually. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about it, or he'll be able to talk about it at some point. He does the reviews for the site as of recently. Sorry that he hasn't put up the other review yet. He's just been really busy with stuff, so that will be coming up eventually. But we are the SpiderNerd.com podcast, so I'm just clearing that up. It's a long story as to why I had to change back to this old web address, but it's just a long story that I'd rather not share on air. But really, it's not that big of a deal. So hopefully you people aren't too confused by it. So you are still listening to the same podcast, just under a different name. With me this week, I've gotten quite a few comic books in the mail. I've got a good portion of the Spectacular Spider-Man run. I got 2 through 8, and then I got 103, I believe, through 125. So I got quite a few comic books in the mail this week. Along with, I got the Complete Clone Saga Epic book number 1. And I have books 2 and 3 on the way, so I'm excited to get into reading those. I've been reading a bunch of amazing Spider-Man books in preparation. In preparation to read those Clone Saga books. So, I'm pretty excited for that. So, Jacob, you have anything interesting going on this week besides the convention?
I got the new Pokemon game, so that's what I've been doing.
I've never been a big fan of Pokemon.
It came out when I was like the age it was directed at, so I have been since I was like 8 or 6 or something. Got my first Game Boy Pocket and got Pokemon Blue for one of my birthdays.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 came out when I was 7, so that's why I'm so into Spider-Man, because he came out. Well, his movies, I should say, came out when I was the suitable age for him, so that's why I'm so into Spider-Man.
Yeah, I was probably like 6 or 7 when the first one came out. 2002, right? I was 10, actually.
Yeah. Give or take a few years.
Yeah.
All right.
Math.
Yeah, it's fine. So today we are basically going to be covering one comic book issue, as well as recent news topics. And I'm sorry for anyone who thinks I'm talking a bit slow today. I did just kind of wake up, so yeah. So if I'm talking a little bit slow, I apologize for that. But Superior 19 is what we're going to be starting off with. Superior Spider-Man number 19. Credits for this issue: it was written by Dan Slott and drawn by Ryan Stegman, the artist who has received a lot of acclaim I've seen across various message boards such as CBR. I've seen a lot of acclaim for Ryan Stegman, and I think he's a good artist, but I don't think he's anything really special. But the issue basically begins with Carly Cooper and the Wraith going after Antoine Morant, his name appears to be, and they're trying to track him down and stop him. And at the same time, back at Horizon Labs, Superior Spider-Man has just punched out Spider-Man 2099, and he's on the Spider-Man 2099, I should say, is on the floor unconscious. And with all the Chronotons flying around them, they're all saying, "Oh my gosh, what do we do? Horizon Labs is about to explode." And Max Modell explains that they need the equation that Peter Parker came up with to offset the effects of it. And so Otto accesses the Parker memories that he already accessed in order to sort of try to find the formula. I don't know. That was really confusing because it's like he's accessing Parker memories that he's already accessed. So even though he purged them, which to me does not make any sense, but whatever. And it turns out Spider-Man's doing that for 8 minutes, and in that time, they're able to construct a machine that should stop the Chronoton influx. However, it will not work without Parker's equation. Otto seemingly figures it out, but at the last second, it turns out to be wrong. Horizon Labs explodes. Spider-Man 2099 is trapped in the past due to Tyler Stone destroying the time machine in 2099. So he's trapped in the past, and he becomes Tiberius Stone's personal assistant under the name Michael O'Mara. J. Jonah Jameson lets Max Modell go under the pretenses that he will not do any more of this science-y stuff in New York. And they managed to bring Spider-Man back out of, or Spock, I should say. I don't know why I just called him Spider-Man there. They managed to bring Spock out of the time sort of influx that he's in. They managed to bring him out of that, and he gets a call from he gets 16 calls from Mary Jane over his voicemail. So he calls her back, and she basically says that she's done with him and that she wants nothing to do with him anymore. And the final page of the issue is basically Carly Cooper finally learning the truth about the Superior Spider-Man. And that's basically what this issue was. So, Jacob, we're going to start with you. What's your grade on this issue?
Like the first 2/3 of it, I was going to give it like a C+, but then like the last little bit, I was just like, all right, this brings it up to like probably about a B+ or an A-.
So B+, A- for you?
I'm going to go with B+, just to keep it in the middle.
All right. My grade on this issue, I gave it an A- on my review on the actual website, and I do stand by that grade just because of the fact that this was a very, very solid, enjoyable issue. I really liked a lot of the aspects of it. I felt that it was strong. I felt that, there weren't any superfluous scenes like the last issue, and there were a lot of really, really good moments. So let's go through the issue and kind of analyze every little bit of it. First off, I do want to point out the very first page of the issue. They've been starting this little trend of having Daily Bugle newspaper articles as the first pages of the issues, and I really like the headline for this one. 1.21 gigawatts. Nice Back to the Future reference there.
I just found Back to the Future Legos on Amazon. I really want them.
Yeah, I love those movies. They're actually my favorite movie trilogy of all time. And so I've had that since it came out. I love those movies.
I didn't even know they existed. I just saw someone posted on Instagram. I'm like, what? I immediately was like, Mom, buy me this.
Yeah, they've had a box set of them for like a year and a half.
Yeah, I didn't know the Legos existed. I have all three movies on DVD and on Blu-ray and VHS.
I have all three movies on DVD. I don't have them on Blu-ray yet, because I just recently got a Blu-ray player, so I only have my essential movies on Blu-ray, like the Spider-Man movies and the Marvel movies. But I do plan to get the Back to the Future movies on Blu-ray eventually. But
I only have one Marvel movie on Blu-ray. I don't have that many. My parents got me like the Dark Knight trilogy, and I have the Star Wars saga and Back to the Future. That's really all the good ones.
What Marvel movie do you have on Blu-ray?
Avengers.
Of course. That movie was meant to be watched in Blu-ray format.
Yeah. I loved it. And I didn't even ask for it for Christmas, but they just got it for me.
That's a sign of good parents. They know what you want without you having to tell them.
Yeah. Well, they're just like, oh, he likes comics, so I think this is superheroes.
All right, so I love the Back to the Future reference on the first page. We'll start with the Superior Spider-Man and 2099 stuff. What did we think of the whole Chronoton, situation with the time stream influxing and all of this stuff? What do we think of this scene?
Oh, when Miguel is like laying on the floor all unconscious?
Yeah.
I thought it was good. Except, I don't know, Grady is a hit or miss for me sometimes. He's just kind of weird.
I don't know, he's a character that kind of reminds me of, I don't know, I don't want to mention his name. Dominic. But he's a guy at my school. And he reminds me a lot of a guy named Dominic. And so that's why I kind of relate to the character, I guess. Again, I apologize, I'm speaking slowly, but I do kind of relate to that character because he reminds me of a guy from my school. I have a guy at my school who's really kind of like Grady Scraps. He's kind of weird, kind of smart. He's got these weird little quirks about him. So I
definitely feel like he's the comic relief of Horizon Labs.
Yeah, I could understand that. He's the guy who's there to make you laugh and just do weird stuff.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like his character a bit. What I didn't like in this scene was, once again, Spider-Man is like, "Oh, I'm the superior Spider-Man. I'm so awesome. I'm so egotistical." And he knows that he has a guy from the future who knows how this goes down, laying on the floor right in front of him, unconscious, and he was possibly their only hope of fixing the problem. So, and he's still like, "Oh, well, I'm the superior Spider-Man, so,
I can figure it out,
Yeah. I mean, I've made it clear several times in my reviews on the site that I'm not a fan of Otto as Spider-Man, mainly because of the fact that he's just a jerk throughout the whole thing. And so, it just, that kind of bothered me a little bit about this scene. I did like it. I felt that it was a good scene. I liked that he was able to figure out the problem fairly quickly. It showed Otto's intelligence very well, but I just didn't like the egotistical nature of it.
Yeah, that's my big issue with Occa's Spider-Man 2, because he's just a big douche.
I didn't want to use that word, but I guess you can use it.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. We don't have any language restrictions here. I just didn't want to use that word because I felt that would be a little bit too harsh.
Well, I mean, he's always like talking down to everyone, and he just thinks he's the best thing ever. I don't know.
I mean, that is like kind of Ock's character, but it's just like, and I get that, but I don't like seeing Spider-Man, or quote-unquote Spider-Man, being portrayed that way, and no one questioning it.
I feel like he's like starting to get the feeling of why everyone loved Peter so much. Because, like, did you read Superior Spider-Man Team Up, the most recent one?
Number 4?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And how he's like, "Oh, I better watch those quips. He's starting to sound a little too Parkerish or whatever." I feel like he's like starting to like become more Peter-like, but then scenes like this make it make me feel otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of the case of different writers sort of having their own take on Ock as Spider-Man, but ultimately, I mean, yeah, in Superior Team Up, he really is starting to evolve into a more Peter Parker-like person, but here in Superior, he's just continuing to be a dick, and it's really not that appealing to read.
Yeah. Like, the main reason I'm, like, picking this book up is just to, like, have it and have my little Spider-Man fix for the little bit, but I'm just mainly just waiting until Peter comes back.
I think we're all waiting until Peter comes back because I don't know of a lot of people who actually like Ocko's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate Dan Slott like some of those people when this first started did, giving him death threats and stuff. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just, I mean, I just don't like Doc Ock as Spider-Man, but I'm not gonna like give Dan Slott death threats for it.
Seriously, I mean, the death threats against Dan Slott are ridiculous.
Are they still going on?
Probably, because they're probably going to go on as long as this goes on.
I love Spider-Man. I have since I was like a child, and I wouldn't give someone death threats for writing it differently. I'm like, it's a comic book. I mean, come on.
Yeah, seriously, guys, it's a comic book. 22 pages of paper.
Yeah.
I mean, I said on our last podcast that I felt that Amazing Spider-Man number 700 could have been a lot better, and I do stand by that statement, but I'm not going to go and, attack Dan Slott and say he needs to be tortured just because he put out, a bad story arc.
Yeah. And well. I mean, it's just a comic book.
It wasn't a horrible story arc. I should take that statement back. It wasn't a horrible story arc. As a whole, I'd probably give it a B-, C+ for the... I'm talking about Dying Wish, by the way.
Yeah.
I'd probably give it a B-, C+, but I just, I don't understand the violence and death threats against Dan Slott for this. I really don't.
Me either.
But... yeah, we're getting off track.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I kind of got us off track, but ultimately, yeah, that was my main problem with this scene. Ultimately, we then had influx of Parker memories, and I said this in the issue recap. This just didn't make sense to me. How can he remember the Parker memories if he's purged them all? I mean, he's like, I can still recall the ones I already accessed. But wouldn't he have purged those too?
I feel like the way I heard some like metaphor for it on another Spider-Man podcast, but I don't remember what it was. But like he remembers those because he went through them like he was Peter Parker, like how he's like portrayed as Peter in the art there, and so I feel like that's why he remembers those ones because he lived through them. But he didn't go through the other memories that he got rid of. That's why he doesn't remember them. But I don't know. It kind of makes sense, but it also doesn't at the same time. I thought the art was really cool there, though, in that 2-page spread.
Yeah, that 2-page spread. I do have to commend Stegman for his work on this 2-page spread. This was really, really good.
Yeah, I like how the background is like old-timey looking coloring and art, and then like Spider-Man or Spock there is like right up front looking like he usually does.
Yeah, he looks like his head's about to explode. I mean, he's holding his head in pain. He's trying to remember all this stuff, and it looks like he's really in bad pain.
Yeah. And I like the scenes that they decided, like the like Amazing Spider-Man 33 and the thing from Craven's Last Hunt and 121 and first appearance of Mary Jane and stuff.
Yeah, I really did like that they chose pivotal moments in Parker's life because it's obvious that Doc Ock would access those memories first.
Yeah.
So I did like that. Did you notice down below the silhouette? Down below the memory thing?
What is it? I didn't really get that. Oh! I see it now.
Yeah, I didn't see that till my second read either.
Oh, well then.
Yeah,
Is that Peter like lifting the stuff in the mine that happened in issue 9?
a
That's what
lot
it
of
looks like.
people think that, and I support that theory.
Yeah, I didn't even know. It just looked like a bunch of like random shapes to me. But now that I'm looking at it differently,
Yeah, I
well,
didn't even.
I have to change my grade on this now.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that until my second read because on my first read I was so distracted with what all the memories were, I didn't even look down below.
Yeah, I looked at it. I was just like, "What is this even? What is this?"
Yeah, I think it's Ghost Peter.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So maybe we'll find out in issue 20 or something.
Probably not, knowing Dan Slott.
Or I feel like when the whole Venom thing happens, he's gonna be like, "Crap, how do I do this? And how did Parker do this?" And he's just gonna like, and Peter's gonna be like, "Well, I don't know."
Yeah,
That's a little shot in the dark.
I mean, do we think Ghost Peter is going to make a permanent return to the book and have a prominent appearance like he did in issues 1 through 9, or what do we think?
I feel like if he comes back, he's gonna like try and be less noticed because he doesn't want what happened to happen again.
Yeah, you see, I don't know how I feel about it because Ghost Peter, there was really no point to Ghost Peter in the first place. The only point really was to just kick us in the balls again and kill off Peter Parker for a second time.
Do you ever use the Marvel AR app thing?
I never gotten it to work.
In issue 9, one of the AR panels was Dan Slott talking about how why Ghost Peter was a thing because they're having a big meeting and everyone was like, "Dude, you can't kill Peter Parker. What are you thinking?" And then they all came to an agreement that there's gonna be like the Ghost Peter for a while and then Dan Slott was like, "All right, but I'm not keeping him around forever." So he's pretty much there as like training wheels for us to get into Superior Spider-Man.
Yeah, I understand that. I still don't like it. I don't feel like it's a good creative decision. But if they are gonna bring Ghost Peter back, I hope they actually have actual Peter Parker come back this time instead of just kicking us in the balls again.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'll admit, I knew how issue 9 was going to go down. Because I was like, it's only May. There's no way they're going to bring Peter Parker back this early. No matter how bad the fan backlash was, there's no way they're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
So, I knew Ghost Peter was going to die at the end of issue 9. But, honestly, if they bring him back now, I'd be okay with it. Because it's been almost a year since Amazing Spider-Man number 700. So it's been almost a year since Peter's death, and I think it's a good time for him to come back. I think the best time for him to come back would be around April, May when Amazing Spider-Man 2 comes out.
That's my thought too. Like, because I mean, kids are gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Peter Parker Spider-Man," and then they go to pick up a Spider-Man book and it's Doc Ock.
Yeah, and it's like they will be confused as hell about what is going on.
Yeah.
And so they'll have to go back and read all these back issues, which you really shouldn't have to do.
Yeah, I mean, it does a little bit of a explanation at the Daily Bugle first page thing, but not good enough.
Yeah, really, they don't really have that good of an explanation.
Yeah, I had to explain it to my mom on the way back from that comic book convention because she had to drive me there because my license is suspended right now.
I really am intrigued by that, but I won't ask.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, I won't ask. So, moving off of the Peter Parker silhouette, we had basically Horizon Labs' destruction, and what did we think of the destruction of Horizon Labs?
I thought it was portrayed pretty well. I mean, how Miguel was all like, "No, not you, Stone," and I was really confused how Spock got out of there. That was my only concern, but I figured it out once they showed it.
I really liked this scene, and I'll tell you why. It's because this is the first time that the superior Spider-Man has lost.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my huge complaints with this series is that Spider-Man wins every single time. Peter Parker never won every single time. I mean, it's not the fact that he's winning, it's the fact that he's winning all the time. And you know what? Peter Parker lost quite a bit. So, really, it's nice to see the superior Spider-Man lose for a change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of lost in, what was it, 14? Well, he thinks he killed the Kingpin, but I'm pretty sure that was the, Kingpin double that he had.
I still remember that issue, and I remember screaming, "Holy crap!" when he snapped the guy's neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I honestly couldn't believe they did that on panel, but they did. So,
yeah, I figured they wouldn't actually show Spider-Man killing or someone getting killed, not Spider-Man killing someone, because I mean they didn't show Spider-Man killing Massacre.
They showed Spock killing Smythe though in issue 13.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but ultimately I did like the destruction of Horizon Labs. I felt that it was well done. It was a nice change for Spider-Man. What do we think of Miguel O'Hara being trapped in the past and being Tiberius Stone's personal assistant? Do we think that Spider-Man 2099 will make a return appearance? What do we think here?
I hope he makes a return appearance because he's one of my favorite non-Peter Spider-Mans. But he could have come up with a better alias, like Michael O'Mara. Really?
Yeah, it sounds pretty close to Miguel O'Hara.
Yeah, it's the English version of Miguel, and then he just changed a letter in his last name.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not that impressive, but I do hope he makes a return appearance. I don't know. I mean, would we like to see a Spider-Man 2099 solo book maybe, or?
I would love that. I'm actually trying to collect the original solo book right now. I'm a little over halfway done with the whole run, collecting it. I've been a big fan of him because when I was a kid, my parents got me a Marvel Legends figure of him that came with one of the comics. And yeah, he's been one of my favorites ever since.
Yeah, so I mean, I personally wouldn't buy a Spider-Man 2099 solo book because I've never really been the biggest fan of him. I don't have anything against him. I just have no personal connection to the character. So I probably wouldn't buy the book. But ultimately, but it is going to be interesting to see Spider-Man 2099 sticking around in the present time. Hopefully he will make a return appearance in Superior. Maybe he'll have something to do with the return of Peter Parker. I don't know.
I feel like he will.
I don't know. I mean, the return of Peter Parker, it has to be a Peter Parker-centric story.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't.
Well, I feel like he'll have something to do with it, not be anywhere a center of the story. Just be there, be like, yeah, Peter, I knew you weren't. That wasn't actually you.
Or maybe he'll have some role in helping out Carly Cooper or something.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
All right, so last couple of things to discuss with this issue. We had Spock and Mary Jane's conversation, and Mary Jane finally telling him off. I cannot tell you how pleased this made me.
Yeah, I'm glad that she's dude, you're just being a dick. Stop it. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, Mary Jane has never been the kind of woman that she's been acting like throughout all of Superior Spider-Man. She is a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, you never see her get walked all over like she does by Spock in the last 18 issues.
And so it was nice to see her finally stand up to Peter Puss or Spock or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, I was reading and I was like, finally, thank you.
I had that exact same reaction along with the Mary Jane scene to the final thing that we're going to talk about, which is Carly Cooper has finally figured out who is under the Superior Spider-Man mask.
Yeah, the second I read that, I'm like, oh shit.
The second I read that, I literally screamed, finally.
Yeah, I was sitting up here by myself just reading because it was Wednesday and that's what I do. And I'm just like, oh, Carly, thank you for not finally figuring this out.
Well, I was to give a little perspective, I was sitting in my living room in my little reclining chair, and I was reading the issue. I turned to the last page, I read it, and I screamed, finally. And my mom was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am good." I finally got what I wanted.
Yeah, I hope this is like the beginning of the end for Spider-Man or Spock.
I really hope so too. So, overall, this was a good issue. Jacob, do you possibly want to change your grade on this issue?
I'm gonna go with like A- altogether instead of B+, because that little 4-panel part with Ghost Peter, or possibly Ghost Peter, lifting up the rubble was just top notch. That changed it for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this issue an A- as well. I liked it quite a bit. So with that, we are going to move off of Superior number 19 and off of the comic reviews, and we're going to start tackling news topics. And our first news topic today is that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 video game has finally gotten a teaser trailer released. And to basically describe it, nothing happens.
Yeah, it honestly, like, up until you see Spider-Man, it honestly kind of looks like it could be a trailer for the new Batman game. Until then.
Let me tell you, I watched this trailer, and I was so underwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. It's a teaser trailer, so we're not going to see, like, everything. It's not a full-length trailer, but I was still expecting something more.
Yeah, at least, like, a villain. Maybe, like, a glimpse of a villain.
Well, not even that, just, like, Spider-Man doing something.
Yeah, that too.
I would have loved to have seen Spider-Man actually, do something other than just, sit around on a web.
Yeah, I guess we'll probably just have to wait until, like, it gets closer to that time. Is it gonna do you know? Did they say anything if it was going to come out before the movie?
I think it's coming out in April, like the very end of April, but I'm not sure.
So, like a week before the movie. All right.
Yeah, and if it's gonna be a quote unquote sequel to the movie, like the last game was, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would they release it before the movie?
Maybe it'll be like a sequel to the other game, so it's like those two games are in between the two movies.
See, that I would kind of like.
The only thing with the first game that didn't make any sense, now that we know who's in the second movie, is the Rhino is in the first game. Like, he's one of the first villains you fight, to my knowledge. I haven't beaten it. And he's in the Rhino suit and everything, and then in the second movie, he's not in the Rhino suit at the beginning.
Well, the first game isn't even... The first game isn't even, like, really canon, so... I mean...
Oh. I thought it was, like, supposed to be, like, what happened after?
No, the first game isn't actually canon, so, it's not really... we have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. We can't really look that far into it.
All right, well, then disregard everything I just said about that game. The game was good.
It was good from what I hear. I haven't played it, but I've heard that it's a lot like the Spider-Man 2 video game.
Yeah, it's like one notch below.
That's
because Spider-Man 2 was like the first one that was awesome.
Yeah,
I got that game for free too back in the day. I was stoked.
Yeah, I love the Spider-Man 2 video game. It was probably one of my favorite video games of all time.
Yeah, the game was phenomenal. I played that game like 7 times.
Yeah. But really, like, there's nothing to talk about with this trailer. I don't even know why I brought it up, but there's literally... The only thing that I think is worth mentioning is I don't think Spider-Man looks good in this game.
Well, it's just a teaser trailer. I feel like it'll look different, like when the actual full game comes out.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like, the eyes are the big thing for me. I like the eyes on the suit in the movie, and I think they look good in the movie. From what we see in the movie, but I don't feel like they work for this video game CGI setting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still gonna pick it up just because it's a Spider-Man game. Even though the last Spider-Man game I bought was a huge disappointment.
What was it?
Shattered Dimensions.
I've played that game. I haven't beaten it yet, but I find it quite enjoyable.
I don't know. I'm on the part where you're like I just beat Craven, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it's the very beginning. I don't know, just Neil Patrick, none of the voice actors, fit to me, at least.
They're all voice actors from previous Spider-Man series.
Yeah, I know. The dude who plays Spider-Man 2099 is the guy who played it in the 90s series. But I don't know why. It just doesn't feel right. I feel like he should be playing Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I know. But, any other final thoughts on this trailer before we wrap this topic up?
It was okay for a teaser.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
All right, so our next news topic is that Amazing Spider-Man 2 could possibly have a subtitle. Some suggested subtitles for the movie are Amazing Spider-Man with Great Power or The Amazing Spider-Man The Amazing Spider-Man Price of Power. So, what do we think of these two possible subtitles?
I thought it was Price of Responsibility or something like that, but I don't know. You're probably right. You wrote an article about it.
Yeah, I quoted exactly from Metro UK, I think it was.
Oh. I feel like, I don't know, neither of those titles, roll off the tongue.
I kind of like the Amazing Spider-Man Price of Power one. I don't know about you, but I kind of like that one.
I like that one the better of the two. I don't know. I just, the first two episodes of Ultimate Spider-Man were called, With Great Power, and the second one comes Great Responsibility. I feel like if they choose that subtitle, that's what they're going to do for Amazing Spider-Man 3, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, again, this isn't a huge news topic to talk about, but, it's just, I'm trying to think of what to say here. I'm sorry, but ultimately, I wouldn't mind it being called Price of Power. I think that that's a good title. I think With Great Power is kind of more suiting for the first movie and not really suited towards the second one. I feel like if anything, Price of Power, it could be kind of a foreshadowing title because that could foreshadow possibly the death of Gwen Stacy, maybe.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's a good idea.
So I feel like that really could work as a title, but I don't really mind the title Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, plain and simple. That's what I was thinking of. It's a good title.
I mean, I didn't really mind it, so I mean, I don't really have a preference either way, but I think Price of Power could be good.
I mean, I'm going to go see the movie regardless, so I don't really care if they put a subtitle on it.
We're all going to see it regardless because we love the first Amazing Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. All right, and our final news topic today is that the Superior Spider-Man is set to face the Goblin Nation. After all these issues of setting up the Goblin plot, in issue 27, we are finally going to get some resolution to it and some big climactic battles between the Superior Spider-Man and this new mysterious Green Goblin. So, we're going to start with you, Jacob. What are your expectations for this Goblin Nation plot?
It better be good if we're waiting this long. Yeah. That's all I gotta say. We've been waiting, a year almost for this. And it's not gonna come out until, 3 months from now? Something
February,
like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It starts in February, and that will make it exactly 1 year since the first appearance of this new Green Goblin in Superior Spider-Man number 4.
Ugh. All right, well, I guess better late than never.
So that's 22 issues of waiting to find out who the freak this goblin is. And who knows if we'll even get to find out who he is. We might not even get that far.
I'll be so pissed if we don't even figure out who the goblin is.
I'm really, really hoping that it's Norman, but I doubt it is.
Yeah, I hope it's Norman too. Like, I've heard a theory that it's going to be Normie, and I don't know. I feel like that'd be kind of lame.
Jesus have mercy. Oh my gosh. Please do not let it be Normie.
Oh yeah, let's have the 10-year-old kid be the Green Goblin.
Yeah, because that's a great idea.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, we're being sarcastic right now. Yeah, so I really, really hope that it's Norman, but I doubt it will be. So do we have any speculation as to who the goblin could be?
I don't know. The only one I can think of is Norman, because wasn't there a scene where he wasn't in his hospital bed?
Yes, at the end of Amazing Spider-Man number 697.
Yeah. That's the only hint, I'm pretty sure.
You know, we've had so many teases with Slott lately, and all this stuff coming out about, oh my gosh, this is going to be the biggest thing ever and all this stuff. I just really hope that this storyline, lives up to the hype that it's receiving.
Yeah, me too.
Personally, I would really like the Goblin to be Norman, but I also could think that it might be Harry. I don't know. It's just... It's like there's no real clues pointing me to it. I just get this feeling that it's Harry. It's like it's just something inside my soul is telling me that it's Harry.
I hope it's either Harry or Norman. I'm more hoping it's Norman, but if it's Harry, I won't be disappointed.
See, I kind of want it to be Norman, and I said this on a previous podcast, because then it would be Norman Osborn versus Otto Octavius, and they are arguably Spider-Man's two greatest arch nemeses.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would consider his two biggest.
The only other possible one would be Venom, and Venom's sort of not available to be Venom right now.
Yeah.
Seeing as Flash has the Venom symbiote and Eddie Brock is currently Toxin, so...
Yeah. So, I don't know. I would put, Otto and Green Goblin, number one, and then, Venom, number two, if I was going to list the villains.
Yeah. I definitely rank them as so. I would really like it to be Norman just because of that face-off, but I wouldn't mind if it was Harry. I feel like we could make a good story out of Harry as well.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for the news topics today, and that's also going to do it for this episode of the SpiderNerd.com podcast. So, Jacob, any final words for the listeners before we sign off?
No. Go read some comic books or something.
All right. And before we do go, this was meant to be said at the beginning of the show, but for some reason I was distracted. You may notice that one of our co-hosts, Thomas Patterson, was not able to be with us today. He had a death in the family, and so I would like to send my thoughts and condolences to Thomas and his family and hope that he can come back and join us again soon. But with that, we are going to sign off and say au revoir, adios, auf Wiedersehen, however else you want to say goodbye, and we will see you all later.